Hey everybody, how's it going? It's me, JV, legendary 501st Captain Rex, and welcome to probably the first of many Star Wars streams that I may do. I think I might need to start giving credits to the songs I use in the background nowadays, because there's some copyright stuff going around. May need to sort that out one of these days. But today, I'm here to share with all of you my ideas for Star Wars, my fan ideas for the Star Wars universe. And as you probably already saw from the thumbnail, if you're going back to watch this on YouTube when this is not live, I have 4 alternate universes that I've wanted to put out there for the longest time. They are Ghosts of the Galaxy, Phantoms of the Galaxy, Legends... What was it? What was it? Hang on. Vulpine Squad and Legends Revived. Now, some of these have been sitting in the wheelhouse for a long while now, and I've come here to share with all of you wonderful Star Wars fans what I've been cooking up. Alright. Now, I'm reading this word for word from my documents that I made about this, and let's get this started. Now, I honestly wish I had a lot more Star Wars themed music, because I originally thought that my channel was going to be fully Sonic the Hedgehog and a little bit of Star Wars, but I need to live up to what my username suggests, that Star Wars has got to happen one of these streams. And maybe when I get VR one of these days, maybe, just maybe, if I also get a job, I could figure out if I can convince someone to make a custom clone trooper model for me, just for the sake of going to Star Wars maps in VR chat. All right. Let's begin, shall we? During the Clone Wars, the Clone Army was divided into groups in which they would be best suited for their Jedi generals, both in personality and skills. For example, the 501st Trooper Legion consisted of troopers with lousy discipline records and troopers who used unconventional tactics in war, best suited for Anakin Skywalker, who was an unconventional Jedi, and Ahsoka Tano, whom the battalion loved as a little sister. The 212th Attack Battalion consisted of troopers who had exceptional discipline records and troopers who used traditional methods in terms of war. Some even take negotiations as a second course, best suited for Obi-Wan Kenobi, who took on more of Qui-Gon Jinn's mentality of being a Jedi. The 104th Battle Group consisted of troopers who believed they were all interconnected and not expendable pieces of trash like some would believe that they are. Some even adopt Jedi beliefs. Some even adopt Jedi beliefs of camaraderie, best suited for Jedi Master Plo Koon, who acted as a father figure. And now, my fan battalion, the 181st Primal Brigade, consisted of a mix of ARC troopers, commandos, specialists, and pilots from across the Grand Army of the Republic, split into 3 different factions: Fox Battalion, Snake Battalion, and Eagle Battalion. These are best suited for Jedi such as Ki-Adi-Mundi, Shaak-Ti, and Volith Moon. If you don't know who Volith Moon is, he is the wolf-looking Jedi from the 2003 Clone Wars micro-series. Despite popular belief, Jedi do have the option to pay their soldiers. The Jedi who spoiled his troops the most was none other than Chosen One, Anakin Skywalker. On one occasion, he nearly ran the Republic into a galaxy-wide debt by doubling his troopers' pay after the Second Battle of Geonosis. Chancellor Palpatine or Darth Sidious wouldn't have that much of an impact on Anakin as many may assume. Anakin goes to the Jedi Temple to ask if Palpatine's advice should be taken, so in a sense, I gave Darth Vader more brain cells. Count Dooku, Lord of the Sith and ruler of Sereno, still has some connections to the Jedi, meaning he still holds on to some of his light side teachings as well as the dark, and he could have been equal to Mace Windu. Now, I wrote all of this before Tales of the Jedi came out, and I haven't seen Tales of the Jedi except for that one episode with Ahsoka Tano in the 501st. Obi-Wan Kenobi and Commander Cody both agree that Anakin Skywalker, Captain Rex, ARC Trooper 5s, and Clone Trooper Echo care way too much about the aftermath of the war, and they feel as if they are responsible for leading the men of the 501st straight to their deaths. Now, Phantoms of the Galaxy and Ghosts of the Galaxy both interconnect. So the first part, which is everything that I've read up until this point, applies to Phantoms of the Galaxy as well. And this is considering the fate of Ahsoka Tano in Season 5, when she was held on trial for the bombing of the Jedi Temple. So, Ghosts of the Galaxy, she survives, Barriss Offee is convicted, and that's it. I'll get to Phantoms of the Galaxy later. So after the events of Season 5 of the Clone Wars, Ahsoka would lose faith in the Jedi and leave the Order. Anakin would be heartbroken and attempt to receive therapy from Obi-Wan, Yoda, and Plo Koon, who all have had a connection to Ahsoka. Anakin would tell the men of the 501st the bad news along with Padme, and the men would be devastated. But with Fives' help and some careful convincing, a regiment's number of men from the battalion The men would be devastated, but with Fives' help and some careful convincing, a regiment's number of men from the battalion would decorate their helmets with the markings of Ahsoka Tano, led under ARC Trooper Jesse. This would later become the 322nd Togruta Corps, tasked with helping Ahsoka in the siege of Mandalore and tracking down the head slaver who kidnapped Ahsoka's parents and people. Ahsoka would return with Maul alive, but during what would be considered the time in which Order 66 was executed, the only lingering darkness would be when Palpatine ordered Commander Fox and Captain Tarkin to take the Coruscant Guard from across the galaxy and march on the Jedi Temple with them. In short, the Coruscant Guard did what Anakin and the 501st didn't. Anakin was on a mission to Tatooine looking into why the Hutt clan called for help. Ahsoka, Yoda, Anakin, and Obi-Wan will feel the Dark Surge and call their fellow surviving Jedi from across the galaxy and tell them what's going on. Meanwhile, Palpatine would make his Imperial speech recalling all the clone armies in range and ordering the immediate execution of the Jedi. Palpatine would be confronted by Mace Windu along with 3 other council members, Aayla Secura, Sassy Tin, and Neith Koth, and they would fail. Mace Windu would be surrounded by clone troopers, but he escapes and sends a distress call to Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan would recall his troops after receiving the call, but Commander Cody ordered some of his men to fire on Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan got away without a scratch. That part was short, but to elongate on that, take the events of the Revenge of the Sith video game, the Order 66 mission when you're playing as Obi-Wan and running from the clone troopers. That particular event runs on that part when Obi-Wan tried to recall his troopers. Ahsoka and the 322nd would cut off their comlinks. Order 66 didn't get to reach them in time. Now, in between the Clone Wars and Revenge of the Sith, this is where I also bring another clone trooper unit from the Revenge of the Sith video game, that being the clone trooper assassins, the original assassins. Palpatine and Republic High Command managed to convince the other Jedi generals that they would be needing clone trooper assassins, which they described as clone trooper special forces. So, yeah, we essentially had black operators in a mission when normal ops would be conducted. Anakin would be surprised by the clone assassins he brought with him, who attempted to execute him themselves. Anakin would be outnumbered, but Rex and Fives helped the wounded general by blasting the assassins. After Fives discovered the inhibitor chip a year ago, the majority of the 501st had their chips removed, but with the assassins dead, Anakin wondered who brought them along and why. Now, this was Commander Appo who approved of the assassins, mostly because Anakin was too fucking tired to deal with any more military bullshit after Ahsoka left. Plo Koon is shot down by Captain Jack, but is saved by Commander Wolf's sinker and boost. And with whatever they had left, Anakin, Master Plo, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka regrouped with Grandmaster Yoda and Bail Organa to discuss what just happened. Ahsoka then revealed her troopers still had the inhibitor chips, and her ship would be a ticking time bomb for Order 66. Bail tells Ahsoka to take her ship full of clones to Polis Massa, which is a medical asteroid that was aligned with the Republic and the Jedi, with her troopers to get rid of the inhibitor chip so that they can pose less of a threat. Anakin contacts Rex to see if anything came from Coruscant, and Rex said there was a message specifically for Anakin from the Chancellor. Bail, Kenobi, Yoda, and Plo would look at each other worriedly, suspicious of the Chancellor's motives. Anakin accepted the transmission, but told Obi-Wan and the others to keep out of sight. Palpatine, now the ruler of the Galactic Empire, will have this conversation with Anakin. Now, it's at this point I really, really wish that I had the Emperor's theme. So, forgive my terrible voice acting for Star Wars, but here is the whole conversation. The Tantive 4 meeting room, 200 hours. Chancellor? Yes, Anakin. My deepest apologies for not being under any better circumstances, but I have a mission for you. What is it, Excellency? Go to the Mustafar system. Wipe out Viceroy Gunray and the other separatist leaders. The war has officially ended. The Jedi Rebellion has been foiled. Wait, Jedi Rebellion? I don't understand. Why would the Jedi try to overthrow the seat of power? Everything will be revealed to you once you have completed your task. Are you okay? This seems wrong somehow. The galaxy is changing, boy, as must the Republic, into the Galactic Empire. The Empire? Hold on, Chancellor, wait! And then Palpatine hangs up. Anakin would be left in confusion and inner turmoil. Obi-Wan would be the first to speak, believing that Palpatine is this Darth Sidious that the Jedi have been looking for quite some time. Yoda would also confirm this accusation, saying that he felt this dark aura while Palpatine spoke with Anakin. Anakin would be confused, but with his friends around him to assure that he won't fall to the dark side. That made no sense whatsoever, but to put it simply, Anakin would still be torn between both sides, but since his friends and quote-unquote trusted family would be around, it is unlikely that Anakin would become Darth Vader. With the 322nd now cleansed of the inhibitor chip, Rex, Ahsoka, and the Jedi, along with Bail Organa, the senator of Alderaan, agree to go to Coruscant and storm the Jedi Temple, rescue Mace Windu, and stop Darth Sidious. Meanwhile, on Coruscant, Palpatine would be biding his time, waiting for Anakin to confirm that the Separatist leaders are now dead, However, he received a report from Tarkin saying that two of Anakin's cruisers, the Acclamator class with the 501st and the Venator Tribunal, along with 322nd, has just entered the atmosphere. The LAAT thousands of LAAT gunships began flying down to the unsuspecting Coruscant Guard troopers who are about to execute Mace Windu. Now, I'm going by Legends logic in this, and if you haven't seen the 2003 Clone Wars series, you probably won't get this. So each one singular acclamator class can hold up to about 1,000 LAATI gunships. And that's just me exaggerating. There were a lot of gunships in that one acclamator class ship. So say you're a Coruscant guard walking around the Jedi Temple, putting it under quarantine and sweeping away the dead bodies. You look up to the sky and see the 322nd Venator class Star Destroyer, along with the 501st Acclamator class Star Destroyer. That's about 5,000 gunships full of clone troopers heading your way. Anakin, Obi-Wan, Plo, Ahsoka, and Yoda jump from a gunship and make their way through the Coruscant Guard, with the 322nd beginning to push into the Jedi Temple. After capturing Tarkin, the Jedi would confront Darth Sidious. Ahsoka and Anakin will deliver the final blow, executing Palpatine for his crimes against the galaxy. The Senate will reform under Bail Organa, and the Empire will essentially be dissolved. The Separatists would slowly reintegrate into the Republic, making the galaxy whole once more. Order 66 would be later revoked, and all remaining clone troopers would be redirected to Kamino to remove the brain chip. Palpatine loyalists like Admiral Rampart and select few admirals will be put up on a watch list and subsequently hunted down. After much consideration, the remaining Jedi reformed the Order, but it's now led by Anakin Skywalker, much to his surprise. He would change the code to make any benefits to any, if not all, Jedi, removing the no attachment rule, and even allowing Obi-Wan and Yoda to retire. Most of the clones would already retire, but those that stayed organized into private military cells that would protect the Jedi and guard some of the most high-valued Republic territory worlds once known to the High Republic, like Ord Mantell. Planet Tanalorr would remain out of sight and out of mind, mostly because nobody knew how to get to a planet like that. I was thinking of expanding on this, but I'll save that for later, later, when I actually get back to that. I might do another stream on that. But anyway, here is Phantoms of the Galaxy. What I said at the very beginning of the stream with how different battalions are organized, that still applies to this universe. Now, Phantoms of the Galaxy is Ahsoka is convicted and found guilty. In Phantoms of the Galaxy, after the events of Season 5, Ahsoka Tano was given the death sentence, much to the horror of Obi-Wan and Yoda, and to the pleasure of Admiral Tarkin and Palpatine. Anakin was in the lower city trying to find Ventress, Anakin was in the lower city trying to find Asajj Ventress, who was already off-world, making a message for Skywalker explaining her case. Filled with regret, the clone shock troopers in charge of her execution carried out Ahsoka's execution. It was slightly delayed as one of the troopers, I decided to give them names. Back when I was writing this, I just watched Penti Patrol Star Wars' What If Ahsoka Was Executed for Her Crimes, and so I decided to give these troopers names. It was slightly delayed as one of the troopers, Teddy, hugged her in an attempt to give her comfort, while the other, Hank, unsteadily put up the lethal injection and gave it to her. Both troopers watched as she went limp and proceeded to put the body in cold storage, waiting for cremation. Anakin was devastated, and for the first time, his emotions and vulnerability were made manifest. Within his temple quarters, he nearly crushed everything out of rage. If you haven't played Darth Vader Immortal, it's when Vader goes up to this amber-looking stone and sees a vision of Padme. The second it fades out, a bunch of rocks started lifting up around you, and Vader crushes them with the Force in a fit of rage. So that's essentially what happened. When the news got to the boys in blue, Rex, Echo, Jesse, and Fives held funeral services with the 104th and the 212th, as they all had the most interaction with Ahsoka, and they all had each other's backs during the Great War. Rex would confess that he harbored some feelings to her, but never got the chance to say that he cared for her. Teddy and Hank would voluntarily turn themselves into Skywalker, wanting to be court-martialed and executed for carrying out the death of an innocent person. Anakin wanted to kill someone, but deep down he knew he would be just as bad as the one who framed her. He allowed for the court-martial, but instead of prison, they would be peeling potatoes for the 212th. Cody was going to hold a feast in Commander Tano's honor. A year later, Tarkin would casually instigate Anakin like he always does, only for Rex to take Anakin's place and level a punch on Tarkin. As Fives held back his commanding officer, and Anakin glared at Tarkin, and Tarkin left, very humiliated. After Rex calmed down, he wanted to turn himself in and receive a court-martialing. Anakin denied this request, because, in his words, Tarkin had this coming. Anakin would receive therapy from Shaak Ti, as her quote-unquote motherly aura was enough to calm him down and at least have somewhat of a familiar face. Shaak Ti and Ahsoka were of the same race. They were the Togruta. Obi-Wan and Anakin would spend some time together on meditative retreats, while Echo was acting commander of the 501st. Rex would also be on mandatory leave with Wolf at 79's bar. Anakin was restless most nights, but what would be confusing to him, that was almost 3 weeks into his retreat, Palpatine would appoint Anakin to the High Council, but this wasn't in Palpatine's jurisdiction, and Anakin felt he would be wrong by taking said position. The Council became very wary of the Chancellor's interventions in the Jedi Order, but they accepted Anakin's decision to not accept the rank of Master on Palpatine's behest. Anakin and Obi-Wan are sent back to Coruscant to save Chancellor Palpatine. Anakin then executes Dooku on the Chancellor's orders. For the next few days, Anakin has conflicting feelings, and he feels as if he was ordered to execute a traitor the same way Tarkin and those two clone shock troopers executed Ahsoka. When Bo-Katan called for aid on Mandalore, Obi-Wan wanted out, but Anakin had conflicting feelings again. He kept pestering Obi-Wan about what would Satine call for help. Okay, sorry, my brain just decided to not brain today. Anakin kept pestering Obi-Wan about would Satine call for help if she was in Bo-Katan's position. Obi-Wan kept his cool and begrudgingly agreed to aid the Mandalores. Once Darth Maul is captured, Kenobi can move on to the task of finding General Grievous. Fives would go to the R&D department on Kamino and fill in a request and add on to the 501st a fresh batch of troopers sporting Ahsoka's color scheme while keeping the navy blue of the 501st. This became the 332nd Togruta Corps, led by Captain Vaughn. Now, I know I said 322nd a while ago, but while writing this, I realized it wasn't 332nd. It was 332nd, not 322nd. It was a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one to Anakin. Fives was promoted to lieutenant, serving in Anakin's inner circle with Rex, Appo, and Echo. While on Mandalore, Obi-Wan kept his promise to Satine's sister, and with the 332nd, he pushed his way into Mandalore rather quickly to Maul's position in the throne room, as Maul was about to tell the other crime lords to go into hiding. Obi-Wan and Maul would have this conversation before a swift lightsaber duel. Now, forgive my voice acting again. Mandalore, 2000 hours, throne room of the late Duchess Satine. I have been expecting you, Kenobi. You have my ambitious apprentice to thank for that. I may sound like a Sith Lord myself when I tell you, once you're in custody, I'll be going after General Grievous next. Yes, so Sith would say it. And your apprentice is... hang on. I gotta cut the music. Alright. Alright, doing this again. I have been expecting you, Obi-Wan. You have my ambitious apprentice to thank for that. I may sound like a Sith Lord myself when I tell you that once you're in custody, I'll go after General Grievous next. Yes, that's how a Sith would say it. And your apprentice is considerably valuable in this galaxy. He's the key to everything. The light, the dark, and the fate of this very galaxy. So I've heard. But that was from a Sith he executed, Count Dooku. He's still shaking a bit from that. Then your apprentice has suffered, has he not? I am not at the liberty to tell you how. But your mind has told me everything, Kenobi. Skywalker will sit on, oh, his Padawan, Ahsoka Tano. Your soldiers bear her markings. You. When I pierced the veil of the future, I foresaw a duel with her in this room. Her soldiers thinking they could take me on, while I was expecting to duel you. It seems the fight was short-lived. Why tell me this? What happened in that vision? Because when she died that day, my vision foresaw me delivering the final blow. You have my deepest condolences, Kenobi. And you thought you could bring her out here just to prove you wrong? You are partially correct, Master Jedi. But it is also because she herself could not stop your apprentice from falling into Darth Sidious's hands. From falling to the dark side. I had another vision. Anakin Skywalker will become Darth Sidious's new apprentice should you kill me here. But there is a chance to stop that from happening, but we need to work together. Anakin would never. Your faith in him is admirable, but it is bound to waver. I'm starting to sound like Anakin, but when you took Satine from me, it became clear that you are beyond redemption. I am sorry, but the galaxy would be better off without you. Then it would be better off without you too. No need for apologies. It's time we end this. Your move. Obi-Wan would win in a swift victory, capturing Darth Maul for his crimes. Once the 332nd pulled out for the Mandalorians to rebuild and execute the Mauldalorians, Obi-Wan took his flagship to aid Commander Cody in the 212th in capturing General Grievous. During the last days of the Clone Wars, Anakin and the 501st were called to Tatooine. The Hutt clan required assistance. Meanwhile, during said mission, Palpatine asked Anakin to return to Coruscant, once again out of the blue from the Chancellor. It was at this point Anakin would start to feel bitter about Palpatine and his role in the execution of Ahsoka. Rex got a call from Republic High Command now authorizing the use of clone assassins on missions. When Rex demanded who authorized this, it was none other than Tarkin. Rex was told to keep it a secret from the general. Both men decided to allow the clone assassins to be on the mission. However, disobeying the Chancellor's request to return, Anakin felt that there was something else going on. Since this took place 1 to 2 months after Fives discovered the inhibitor chips, Rex, Echo, and Fives had theirs removed, leaving Jesse and Apo. Anakin greets the clone assassins, telling them that they are welcome to use any method they see fit, but they ultimately report to Anakin, not to Rex. The assassins agree begrudgingly, and the 501st are ready for their mission. Palpatine, since Anakin wasn't there to expose the Sith Lord, nor send Mace Windu into the office of the Chancellor to execute Palpatine, he pulls up a channel to Tarkin to tell the Coruscant Guard to execute Order 66. Anakin still feels this growing feeling of dread as the Jedi Temple was attacked. Only moments later, Anakin called Rex to end the droid occupation in Mos Eisley quickly. Fives and Echo just retook Mos Espa, Jesse and Apo took Anchorhead, and with the help from Clone Special Task Force 99, or the Bad Batch, on Fives' orders, the 501st took Freetown back from the Separatists. Commander Cody got a call from Palpatine that told him to execute Order 66. Obi-Wan plummets from a ledge and lands in the water from the AT's blaster cannon. Commander Green and Clone Trooper Jack are beheaded by Yoda when they receive the order to terminate Master Yoda. Commander Wolf receives word that Captain Jack and CT-57 shot down on Plo Koon. He deserts his post and flies off in a V-Wing. Anakin begins to get his troops back to the Acclamator-class Star Destroyers, then tries to see if his quote-unquote family survived. When he arrived, the Lars family was still alive and well, but Anakin's reunion was cut short when he came under attack by his own clone assassins. Despite their agility, Anakin manages to overcome them. Owen and Beru finish off the clone assassins, much to Anakin's dismay. Rex, Fives, Echo, and the Bad Batch are locked in one of the Acclamator's bridges. The whole ship was on lockdown for some reason. Palpatine issued an order to all Jedi to return to the temple, saying that the war has officially ended. Obi-Wan, Yoda, and Bail Organa are skeptical, but they go back to investigate. When Anakin returns to the Acclamator, Anakin returns to the Acclamator only to have Jesse and Appo fire on Anakin, along with the entirety of Anakin's battalion. Rex and the others break out by rappelling from the bridge to aid Skywalker. What Fives didn't tell his friends and his brothers was that the 332nd was pure. They didn't execute the order Palpatine gave out, but Vaughn did recall the battalion from Utapau when Cody fired at Obi-Wan. When he reveals this, Echo and Anakin are a little pissed off at him. When the smoke clears, Jesse and Appo throw into the brig, strip their weapons and equipment. Anakin calls for the 332nd at his location as the Acclamator lifts off. Anakin sets the self-destruct to the 501st Acclamator and runs off with Rex, Fives, and Echo and the Bad Batch to Vaughn's Acclamator, Jesse and Appo in tow. With our heroes aboard the Acclamator of the 332nd, they jump to hyperspace. During the jump, Anakin could feel the encroaching darkness, as if his world was being ripped apart. He heard screams on his mind, almost similar to that of his Darth Vader vision on Mortis. Anakin then got a call from Mace Windu saying that the Coruscant Guard was attacking the Jedi's temple, with Captain Tarkin leading the invasion. R2-D2, who was with Anakin, sent the message to Yoda, Obi-Wan, and Senator Organa, but once the silence hung over them, Palpatine tried to call Anakin. Palpatine declares himself the Emperor of the New Galactic Empire, naming the Jedi traitors, and Anakin was tasked with executing the Separatist leaders. Anakin hesitates on this. Then, when Palpatine hangs up, Anakin decides to contact Obi-Wan. They get into a heated argument, which Anakin proceeds to try to challenge Obi-Wan to stop him. Both parties departed for Mustafar. Obviously, Anakin got there first. Obi-Wan would enter 2 seconds late as Anakin finally killed Wat Tambor. Anakin and Obi-Wan would stare at each other. Anakin, who was reasonably pissed, tried to instigate Obi-Wan into fighting him. The two would fight, and it would be like their duel from Revenge of the Sith. Obi-Wan would achieve the high ground, and Anakin would indeed try it, but he caught himself. Obi-Wan didn't swing at Anakin, but Anakin had his hand on his head as if he were returning to his senses. Obi-Wan asked if this is what Ahsoka wanted, or if Padme wanted this. Obi-Wan and Anakin held a silent moment on the fiery planet, and Anakin begged for forgiveness, in which Obi-Wan accepted. As the two headed back to their ships in silence, Anakin's comlink blinked. It was 3PO, and he wanted to inform Anakin that Padme went into labor, and they were already heading to Polis Massa on Bail Organa's orders. Anakin would be in relief. He trusted Senator Organa. Obi-Wan quipped that he figured that Anakin would react such a way, but Anakin was baffled that Obi-Wan had suddenly figured it out. Obi-Wan would remind Anakin that he never really kept the relationship secret, and Captain Rex was not the best option for a wingman. Now, there is a video on YouTube that has this sort of thing with Anakin and Padme getting into arguments about their relationship. And in one of those clips, Anakin and Padme are arguing in front of the whole damn Senate chamber. So, yeah, that turned out real well. Great going, Sky Guy. Anakin, after careful interactions with the last two Jedi, he felt like he was the biggest, most manipulated executioner in the galaxy. All he wanted to do was dispense freedom to the galaxy with his now dead Padawan, and now he fears he's led the galaxy into more turmoil. Captains Vaughn and Rex begin to formulate a plan to see how all of this happened with the clones. Why would they turn on their own Jedi after years of service? Fives turns up with the research that he found on Camino. He had to keep things hidden from Palpatine and the others for months on end. Thanks to Rex and Echo, Commander Fox was delayed, allowing Fives to regain his senses. Fives would be called to the Sundered Heart, Bail Organa's flagship, and he would present his research. Anakin held his hand in his heads. The Chosen One could not believe that Palpatine would orchestrate any of this. The 332nd Acclimator and the Sundered Heart returned to Coruscant. Republic Flight Command would be confused, but with Rex vouching for Bail Organa being on escort by the 501st, the two cruisers were allowed to land. Now, there's something I did not go over during the time in which Anakin and the others began to storm the Jedi Temple, and that was the fact that Anakin was suffering from hallucinations of Ahsoka's Force Ghost. Now, these hallucinations were essentially her berating her master for turning to the dark side in such a manner. This was after Anakin killed off the Separatist leaders and had his duel with Obi-Wan. Hang on. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So, Anakin had locked himself in a supply closet in which one of many hallucinations happened. So, Ahsoka and Anakin were having a little bit of a one-sided argument, with Ahsoka berating her master about how he could do such a thing like this. Like, why would he kill off the Separatist leaders in such a cold-blooded and dark side-like fashion? And obviously, this kind of hit Anakin where it hurt. All right, getting back to the Jedi Temple. Taking the Jedi Temple by surprise, the 332nd Organa security team, Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Yoda took on the Coruscant Guard and the 442nd Battalion. Now, if you don't know what the 442nd Clone Trooper Battalion is, hang on. The 442nd Siege Battalion was a clone trooper battalion in the Grand Army of the Republic that served in the Clone Wars. Now, these troopers, I'm sure you guys have seen them in the 2005 Battlefront 2 as the Clone Trooper Marine, but these guys were infantry support, and they... Hang on, let me see if I'm reading this right. So these guys were essentially hang on. Yeah, I knew I should have read some of this before the whole fucking stream. Yeah, these guys have better usages of ATRTs and mobile infantry support platforms. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the ISP was like a Lego set or something. Yeah, if you want to, you guys can look up the infantry support platform. Yeah, it's an old speeder. Like, the last I heard of it was in Empire at War. And it was also used by the 41st Ranger Battalion. Despite the clone troopers bearing the 501st markings along with Ahsoka's markings, Anakin had a bit of a hallucination with Ahsoka in the front, leading the clones with Captain Rex, deflecting lasers back at Imperial clone troopers. Once the temple entrance was secured, Bale stationed a security team outside in order to divert any unwanted attention from civilians and other Coruscant security forces. Anakin, Obi-Wan, and the 322nd took the rest of the temple very quickly, Vaughn and Rex leading the charge at this time. And it was also at this moment Fives decided to goof around on the battlefield by picking up a fallen Jedi's lightsaber and activating it, running it in a battle, deflecting lasers, and cutting down his traitorous Imperial brothers. Anakin would later tell Fives that he would teach him how to properly use that thing, in which the lieutenant laughs as he tells his general to remember that this time. After 3 hours of fighting, the 332nd took the temple back. Any remaining Imperial clones and officers are taken into custody. With most of the 332nd traumatized that they had to kill their brothers, Anakin took the ones who haven't seen the war zone with them, promising the rest of the 332nd that they would receive the proper services for PTSD recovery. Anakin would have another hallucination of Ahsoka, and the two would engage in conversation, Anakin apologizing his Padawan for bringing this much pain and suffering to the galaxy. The 332nd and the Jedi would make their way to the Senate building and keep the place under tight guard, incapacitating their Imperial brothers this time. Once everything was taken care of, Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Yoda confront Darth Sidious. While Obi-Wan and Yoda were the best swordsmen in the Order, they couldn't top the raw power and strength that was Anakin Skywalker, who delivered the killing blow to Sidious. And like in all my Star Wars AUs and stories that I write, there is no goofy Disney sequel logic. Anakin would have the right to kill Palpatine, would have every right to kill Palpatine, but the glory was taken by Rex, who shot Palpatine while Anakin was crushing the Sith Lord with his own desk. Rex would be thanked for his service, but he would only admit that he was only doing his job to uphold and protect the Greater Republic. After a few days, Padme and Bail Organa would be called to the Senate building to testify with the 332nd present and the Jedi, along with convincing Darth Maul to testify. The Senate would revoke Order 66 and allow the Jedi to rebuild, ushering in a new era of peace in the galaxy. Now, that's it for what I call the little quote-unquote legacy of the Galaxy saga. Now, if I could find it. Now, all of this is a work in progress for Legends Revived, which I ended up calling Legends of the Galaxy. Now, I changed some of the, one little aspect of the opening, of the quote-unquote opening crawl. So it may be regurgitating information, but I still have to read this to you. So this is Legends Revived. During the Clone Wars, the Clone Army was divided into groups that would be best suited to support their Jedi generals, both in personality and skills. The 501st Trooper Legion consisted of troopers with lousy discipline records and troopers who used unconventional tactics in war. Best suited for Anakin Skywalker, who was an unconventional Jedi, and Ahsoka Tano, who in the battalion loved as a little sister. The one thing I added was the 501st have reverted to legacy designations. Now, I'm pretty sure you guys have seen Red Sun and what was that other YouTuber's name? I know I'm subscribed to him. Hang on, give me a minute. Yeah, Nicholas Damani. I know. Oh, you guys have seen his and Red Sun's videos. What I mean by legacy designation is Alpha, Beta, Charlie, Delta, Epsilon, etc., not CT number. So, and I'm pretty sure those of you who've played the original Star Wars Battlefront have seen this kind of thing happen. So one trooper would be Alpha 28-3, another trooper would be Tau 889 or Delta 112. Those are legacy designations. Canon designations are like CT 7567. And a little bit of trivia, Alpha 017, the ARC trooper from some of the original Star Wars Clone Wars comics, was supposed to be Captain Rex, but Dave Filoni changed it to eliminate the alliteration. So it was no longer Anakin, Ahsoka, and Alpha 17. It was Anakin, Ahsoka, and Rex. The 212th Attack Battalion consisted of troopers who had exceptional discipline records and troopers who used traditional methods of warfare. Some even take negotiations as a second course. Best suited for Obi-Wan Kenobi, who took on more of Qui-Gon Jinn's mentality of being a Jedi. The 104th Battle Group consisted of troopers who believed that they were all interconnected and not some expendable pieces of trash that some would believe they are. Some even adopt Jedi beliefs of camaraderie. These troopers were best suited for Plo Koon, who even acted as a father figure. The 181st Primal Brigade consisted of a mix of ARC troopers, commandos, and specialists and pilots from across the GAR, split into three factions: Fox Battalion, Snake Battalion, and Eagle Battalion. These are best suited for Jedi such as Ki-Adi-Mundi, Shaak Ti, and Volith Moon. Despite popular belief, Jedi do have the option to pay their soldiers. The Jedi who spoiled his troops the most was none other than Anakin Skywalker. On one occasion, he nearly ran the Republic into a galaxy-wide debt just by doubling his troops' pay after retaking Geonosis. Etc., etc., etc. Now, this universe focuses mostly on the clone troopers. Whether or not Ahsoka dies is completely up to the viewers or fan theories. Disney and Metal Gear logic may apply, as this would stem into the Bad Batch series, which season 3 is out. Go watch it. Watch it. On one particular day on Kamino, Nalase would be working with Omega and Clone Special Task Force 99, but with her withholding research that could benefit the Kaminoans and the Republic, obviously the secrets wouldn't last long. The research would be leaked, and Nalase would be confronted by the Prime Minister of Kamino and chastised for her secrecy. The research in question led to the development of female clones, giving the Kaminoans much more leniency with Jango Fett's DNA, and thanks to Omega's existence, the recessive and dominant genes of Jango Fett can produce more soldiers, adding more diversity into the army. The male clones and the female clones will get along nicely, acknowledging their sisters as part of the ever-growing clone army. To the Jedi, when presented with this information through Anakin Skywalker, who received a fresh supply of troopers after the Second Battle of Geonosis, this was a surprise to be sure, but a very welcome one. Some Jedi, like Ram Koda, felt the need for diversity in the army. Now, I'm pretty sure you all have heard of Jedi Master Ram Koda from not Elite Squadron. Yeah, I think it was Elite Squadron. And Star Wars Force Unleashed, when Proxy was describing General Koda's background, Ram Koda believed that clone troopers were unfit for battle, so he relied on his own militia, which transitioned into the Rebel Alliance. Given the newest additions and the female troopers were set to the same categorization as their male counterparts. These categories are as follows. The clone infantry trooper is your standard run-of-the-mill trooper. With female clones, they have added agility. The clone sniper trooper are reconnaissance troopers with a keen sharpshooting ability. With female troopers, their added agility and flexibility allow for more diverse sniper terrain. Clone officers command the various legions of troopers. Clone blaze troopers, or flame troopers, had bulky armor with a jetpack, or were equipped with a special flamethrower armor and helmets. Female blaze troopers were given specialized armor to help move around more. Clone pilots are your standard clone trooper airmen. Clone assassin troopers were trained to specifically kill Jedi, but also acted in teams with covert ops troopers. Clone covert ops troopers were not only trained to kill Jedi, but any trooper who showed signs of insubordination or desertion. These troopers were also assigned to the dirtiest Republic missions. Clone Special Forces trooper, like Clone ARF troopers or ARC troopers, were professionals in command, reconnaissance, recruitment, and logistics for the clone army. Clone Commando troopers were the fine line between covert ops and special forces. Notable female clones were Auriga of the 501st, Tanya of the 212th, Wolfie of the 104th, and Ivy of the 41st Rangers. Each of the battalions had their own little quirks in their downtime, and with the addition of female troopers, it makes downtime after or before battles much more fun. The 501st would host parties in the 79 Clone Trooper Bar on Coruscant, or in their Venator-class destroyers, spending whatever money they had on drinks, food, games, and whatever General Skywalker could afford. This resulted in many drunk troopers, sometimes in Anakin himself, leaving Ahsoka and Rex to clean up after them. Now, I'm going to take a little bit of a break because I need some fucking water. All right, I'm back. So let's start this again. The 501st would host parties in the 79's Clone Trooper Bar on Coruscant or in their Venator-class Star Destroyers, spending whatever money they had on drinks, food, games, and whatever General Skywalker could afford. This resulted in many drunk troopers and sometimes Anakin himself, leaving Ahsoka and Rex to clean up after them. The 212th would hold civilized feasts after large-scale battles in honor of their brothers and sisters who fell in battle. Obi-Wan got this idea from Duchess Satine Kryze of Mandalore. When she died, Obi-Wan held a feast on her birthday to honor her memory. The 104th would organize themselves into tribes, don makeshift fur cloaks, and howl at whatever moon was there while practicing their hit-and-run strategies, running through whatever forest they were at. This scared Ahsoka at one point, resulting her sharing quarters with Master Plo Koon. The 327th Star Corps essentially gossip about whatever the next big event or game, or even watch the big games while Aayla Secura and Commander Bly spend quality time with each other. Some of the men, in their own way, respect Commander Bly for his ability to somehow, some way, make a Jedi fall for him. Much like some of the male clones of the army, some of the female clones would be the mindless drones who would honestly care less if they die on the field. It's the troopers like them who were counted among the casualties. Problems would arise in the end of the war, some surrounding female troopers, others would be actual Republic problems. The RAS prosecutor would go dark on the radar. Female and male troopers alike are slaughtered by scavenger droids, battle droids, and Transocean bounty hunters. For those female troopers who were still on Coruscant and unlucky to be put on the lower levels, I should have put a trigger warning in here. Rape would be a little bit of a high, which was not a good thing. Aside from Anakin's frivolous spending on paychecks for troopers, the banks were running dry of funds to make more clone troopers, and corruption in the Senate would lead to extending Palpatine's emergency powers and the seat in office. Hang on, let me rephrase that. Corruption in the Senate would lead to extending Palpatine's emergency powers and seat of office. Obviously, there will be more problems, but these will be the main focus. And that is essentially all I've written for Legends of the Galaxy. Like, I could have written more, but apparently I didn't. Now, give me some time to see if I could... There it is. All right. Now, back in 2022 and 2023, I had a whole lot of stories concerning Vulpin Squad. And sadly, I was only able to share one of these with myself before my account got deleted. Now, I'm talking about my high school account when I was in Germany. So the only story that survived is talking about the only female trooper to ever be on Vulpine Squad, and she isn't even a clone trooper. She's a civilian. Her name is Jem. Jem. And she takes the place of the late CT-1995, or Doc, who died in the Battle of Geonosis. And I'm going to read her story right now. Star Wars Clone Wars Vulpine Squad, Jem's Beginnings. As a Jedi, they must serve and protect the Galactic Republic and its citizens, but they also have a duty to pass on the teachings to the next generation of Force users, to stand up against the dark side. Some feel it's not just or fair to take a child from their family, and the dissenting voices in the Jedi High Council went unheard about this issue. Now they're stuck with the topic of young Anakin Skywalker, a powerful Force wielder and said to be the fabled Chosen One. Master Galrin and Hark was one of the middle ground voices. He felt that the induction of children into the Jedi Order was wrong, but at the same time, he wanted the younger generation to be a part of the mighty Republic and secure peace in the galaxy. He always sought counsel with his peers, and whenever a decision was he was always sorry, my brain just is not braining. He always sought counsel with his peers whenever a decision was semi-complicated for him. However, he could no longer seek that wisdom of his former master anymore, nor his master's colleagues, not even that of the brilliant swordsman who was now leading the Separatists as Darth Tyrannus. Galrin wandered the temple halls, hoping to get his thoughts in order, passing by some familiar faces along the way. Master Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin's teacher, looked like he was late for a meeting. Master Pong Krell, a shrewd and temperamental leader, looked as if he wanted to crush a womp rat's head off, and then Assistant Grandmaster Mace Windu, who he was told finally got a Padawan. As he was walking, he felt as if he tripped over something. Not again, he thought to himself. He checked below him to see which Padawan dropped their training saber on the floor again, but to his surprise, it was Grandmaster Yoda, the oldest and shortest Jedi Master. His shock overwhelmed his cool, and he quickly apologized, helping the old Jedi to his feet. Master Yoda, I am sorry, I didn't see you there. To apologize? There is no need, replied the Green Jedi. Looking for you, I was. What do you need, Master? Asked Galrin, getting to his knees. He felt ashamed, even when standing upright. He never thought he gave the old one any respect by looking down on him. A ripple in the Force, I sensed. A new Padawan there may be, he said. You want me to go find this youngling? Yes. Your judgments on this, I know of. Choose to deny this mission? You can. No, Master, I shall leave at once, said Galrin, getting to his feet. He began to walk away from the Grandmaster to his ship. As he walked by multiple ships, a clone commander, neon yellow lined his armor, ran up to him. Sir, we've received reports that the Separatists are moving in on the planet you're about to depart to. Shall I provide an escort? That will be appreciated, Commander Hedge. Prepare a gunship, replied Galrin. Commander Hedge, leader of the 89th Pound Battalion, ran off to a nearby gunship to give its crew the briefing. As Galrin entered his navy blue Delta V Jedi Starfighter, he patched into the comms of the LAAT. Fall in and prepare for departure. We leave as soon as we have the coordinates. We hear you, sir. See you in the air, replied the clone pilot. Once the two ships made it into the air, the voice of the LAAT pilot spoke to flight control. Venator 983, this is Major Tom. We're about to jump to light speed. flight checklist has been completed. Be advised, General Hark is with us on this mission. Transmitting coordinates and clearance codes now. Galrin eased the throttle to not startle anyone. Major Tom did the same. After a few minutes, the Venator's Admiral... Well, the Venator Admiral's voice rang out. This is Flight Command. General Hawk, you are free to jump to lightspeed. Happy hunting and Godspeed. Thank you, Admiral. Engaging, said Galrin as he hit the throttle. Major Tom caught up to Galrin and the two jumped to lightspeed. In the floating city of Bestman, a little girl was playing around the garden section. Her father and brother were looking for her, but she kept vanishing into the flowers and vegetables. Jem, get out of the dirt. We're going to be late, called the father. Jem, getting up with a red flower in her purple hair, giggled and sighed. Can't we just skip the meeting? It's not going to be any different. Young lady, you know full and well these meetings are important. The Republic ambassador asked all of us to be there, including you. Jem rolled her eyes and groaned, dusting herself off. She followed her family into the hallways. She knew she had the Force. She felt in the back of her mind that said ambassador was a Jedi coming to take her, right when she was happy where she was. The floating city was almost a utopia for her. She even wanted to have a boyfriend. Outside the window, a Republic gunship and a Jedi fighter landed on the west landing pads. Two Storm 4 cloud cars landed on smaller pads next to them. She felt that neither of the ships that landed were the ambassador. A group of 5 white armored clone troopers with 2 red line clone captains filed out of the ship next to the Jedi Master that they landed with. Jem felt like she walked across Tatooine when she finally got to the conference hall. She saw a well-dressed male with a Galactic Republic roundel greeting them. Jem wanted to have nothing to do with them. She looked away, semi-angered, but noticed the Jedi and the small squad of clone troopers entering the building. The ambassador seemed to recognize the Jedi Master as Master Hark. Galrin Hark greeted the ambassador and asked if these people were heirs to the mining operations. Jem was indeed one of the heirs, but she would rather gut herself than sit on a throne all day in front of a work desk. The Jedi, Galrin, walked up to her and asked, Did you know you have the Force? Jem looked at the blonde Jedi. He could sense her not wanting to be a part of the war. I've known for a while. I just never wanted to. She was interrupted by the Jedi. Be a part of the war. I didn't ask for the war either. I can respect your decision to not want to join us, but you still have to control your ability with the Force. It's a powerful ally if used correctly. Jem looked at Galrin in confusion. How did he know what she was going to say? She was about to speak up when the ground seemed to shake. They all felt it too. A white armored clone trooper ran up to the ambassador and the Jedi. Sir, explosions on the west landing pad! What happened? Exclaimed the ambassador. The Jedi turned to the clone captain beside him. Take the girl and hide. The rest of you find an evac spot and get the civilians and her family out of here. The captain nodded and motioned for Jem to follow. She obliged out of desperation. When she got to the captain, he pointed to 2 of his men. Rookies, with me! And the 3 troopers, plus Jem, took off down the hallway in the distance. Jem could hear blaster fire and screaming. She closed her eyes, trying to block it out. She ran into the captain, who threw her into a corridor and opened fire into the smoke. Separatist battle droids had found them. Get down! Yelled the captain. Red lasers streaked through the hallway, hitting the captain's shoulder pad, and then his left breastplate. He went down quickly. Jem watched in horror as he fell down. The rookies were disoriented. They couldn't figure out what to do. Cover me! Grenade out! Called one as he chucked a silver sphere. The other grabbed Jem by the arm. We gotta move! The trio ran back the way they came. In the origin point, Galrin was deflecting lasers left and right with his blue saber. Some of the clone troopers around him were dead. The droids caught them by surprise. When Jem and the 2 rookies got there, the civilian transport got away. From the looks of it, it was a yacht for the rich. It was blown out of the sky by a vulture droid, and it crashed onto the burning wreck of an LA-8C that brought the Jedi and the troopers here. Gear to safety. I'll stay with the general, called the trooper, slapping a clip into his DC-15A carbine. He charged into the smoke. Jem and the other trooper ran away. Jem could feel her fear slowly gaining, as if her heart was a glass pane, slowly caving with the pressure of seeing those who wanted to see her safe get cut down in front of her eyes. Another explosion almost rattled the city. Jem and the other clone troopers struggled to maintain their balance. How did the Seppies find us? This is a neutral planet, right? The trooper said to himself. Jem understood his fear. If the Republic was seen meddling with a neutral system, it would make the Senate look bad. Galrin ran to them. He was about to call out to them when time seemed to just slow for Jem. A vulture droid fired its missiles at the hallway they were in. A red flame engulfed the trooper next to her and the Jedi that was running to them. A piece of shrapnel stabbed the Jedi's stomach, and Jem went flying onto the wall. When she got up, she was surrounded by death, fire, and bodies. She felt the glass pane inside her cracked, a shattered force. She looked at the droids in the distance, reaching out her hand to find a weapon. A small metal object flew into her hands.
Look, Jedi!
She heard a battle droid called out. A blue light emanated from the cylinder as she looked down the hallway. She let out a force-piercing scream as she ran down the hallway, leaving nothing but scrap metal in her wake. She was an angel amongst death, a blue arc over her head as her anger and grief came down on her enemies. She was Jem. She was one with the shattered force. Now, for Vulpine Squad, that is a story I might have to tell you guys when I get the chance. Retelling their time on Geonosis up until their greatest missions to on the run from the Galactic Empire. Along with Legends of the Galaxy, that is something that I also need to finish writing. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you did happen to enjoy it, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget that I've got more streams coming in sooner or later. And if you check out my channel, obviously, that's there. I'm thinking of doing a Sonic.exe stream, and once that's said and done, I am going to start Jayhawk's finalized story. So be sure to take a look out for that. Also, thank you all so fucking much for 386 subscribers. That is a milestone I never thought I would reach, and I would like to say thank you all so much. Don't forget, like, subscribe. Let's see if we can get to 500 subscribers. If we get to 500 subscribers, I'll be doing a zombie stream, another zombie stream. And maybe, just maybe, I might do something special for all of you. In fact, I'm actually thinking of something special for May 4th, which is my next Star Wars stream. So mark your calendars, set yourself up for that, and I will see all of you in the next stream. Goodbye.